Cache Valley. It's time to turn up the music, bring your appetite, and celebrate at this year's Cinco de Mayo Community Celebration, happening Saturday, May 2nd from noon until 8 at the Cache County Fairgrounds. Feel the energy of live music, from mariachi rhythms to crowd-favorite performers. Come hungry, because you'll find dozens of vendors serving up incredible food, from authentic Mexican favorites to sweet treats you can't get enough of. And bring the kids, because this is a full-on family fiesta. Bounce houses, climbing walls, piñatas, and plenty more to keep them smiling all day. Best of all, admission is free and everyone is welcome. This year's Cinco de Mayo celebration is presented by DD Auto and Salvage. DD Auto Salvage gives you the most money for your old metal. Presto Products, now hiring. Apply for a career today at Presto Products in Lewiston. And Members First Credit Union, large enough to provide the services you need, small enough to provide the service you deserve. Bring your friends and family to this year's Cinco de Mayo Community Celebration, Saturday, May 2nd from noon until 8 at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without a homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And good morning. Welcome to the Garden Guide on a beautiful Saturday morning. Temperatures right now in the low 40s, but we're headed into the high 60s to low 70s this weekend. Mark?
Sounds nice.
You excited for it?
I sure
am.
It's about time.
Oh.
Seems like we had a little taste of this in March.
Yeah. And it's like all of a sudden winter came back for a bit and now it's gone.
Yeah.
And who knows? It may still come back again.
Somebody told me they were up at Tony Grove the other day, and they had 40 inches of brand new snow.
It was up there.
At Tony
I did
Grove,
see some pictures, was it this week? Yeah. Beaver Mountain.
Yeah,
getting some new snow. And, of course, no skiers up there to enjoy it, but
it's not unusual for us to get a lot of snow and a lot of rain in April.
And thankfully, we want it.
Yeah,
as much as, as much as it may have caused some problems and some traffic issues in Sardine Canyon, you know what? We definitely will
take it. So great news, exciting news. I got my tiller taken in to get fixed. So we're almost there. But I did have a big tractor come in and till my garden yesterday.
Got it done.
So we're ready to go. I put a lot of straw on last fall because I like using straw because my garden's so big it's hard to get a lot of organic matter to cover a 8,000 square foot garden that's
huge.
It's inexpensive. Yeah, and so straw works great. And I have just like winter wheat coming up like everywhere. And instead of being just a couple inches tall, it was like almost a foot tall. It had grown so much in the last month. So he got that all tilled in and it looks amazing. So tonight we'll be planting the rest of our cold crops. So kohlrabi's going in, and then I'll be planting carrots and parsnips and beets. And I'm going to take some potatoes home and get those ready to go. We'll plant those next week.
Okay.
So it's time to get rolling on the rest of those crops. If you have not got your cold crops planted, get those going.
They need to go in.
They
now.
need to go in now, because it's gonna warm up in June and July, and then they're just gonna go to seed and not do very well. So if you want peas or spinach or onions or lettuce or radishes, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, those need to be planted like immediately.
Right,
like immediately. Otherwise, your next window is like July into August to plant those for a fall crop.
When they start cooling down again.
So we got to get those planted like immediately.
Okay.
And then, like I said, carrots and beets and chard, parsnips and potatoes can go right now too. But I think we're going to have another frost, and we're going to have more cold, and we're going to have probably another little snowstorm. So just be prepared, and don't plant your tomatoes.
Keep those tomatoes inside.
And your squashes, melons, cucumbers. It's still a little bit early. Our average frost is always almost always around the 20th of May.
Okay.
So we got a couple of weeks. We'll have to look at the calendar and see when the full moon is this month, because that's almost always when it happens.
Okay.
Yeah, like full moon.
The next full moon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But some cool things happening at Anderson's. So compost tea is rolling. So we got
it is brewing.
Yeah, we got the compost tea going, and so we're super excited about the compost tea. And if you didn't know about our compost tea program, it's a free refill program. So you buy a container, either a 1 gallon or a 2.5 gallon. We brew it 24/7 at Anderson's. And once you get a container, you can bring your empty container back for free refills throughout the summer. And we usually recommend, once a week, once every 10 to 14 days is like great for hitting your plants. You don't need to do more than that, but it will supercharge your soil, frees up nutrient, breaks down organic matter, breaks down toxins and pesticides that have built up in your soil over time. And this really gets your soil alive and going so that the soil can actually feed your plants. It creates an environment where the plants can really thrive in there. Yeah, and so the compost tea is a great way to go. And we brew it, like I said, 24/7, so there's always a fresh batch going unless we have a run on it.
Which sometimes happens on Saturdays.
And our tanks get kind of depleted, and we have to start a new batch. So that does happen on Saturdays from time to time. But compost tea is going. And we've got some good specials for Mother's Day coming up. I know Mother's Day is next weekend, but we've got some hanging baskets. All of our Mother's Day baskets are coming in. We just got a bunch of new trees and shrubs and perennials this week, and roses came in, so we could talk. We could talk a little rose care, and they look amazing. They look so good. They're like in full bloom, so they look sensational is what I would say. And for Mother's Day, I think we've got some specials going on geraniums and a bunch of other stuff. So we're looking forward to that. And don't wait until last minute for gifts for Mom. This coming week is a great time to come in and try and beat the rush next weekend, because we'll be super busy next weekend for Mother's Day. So come in early. Yeah, come in early. And lots happening at Anderson's. There's plants all over in the parking lot and all over in the in the nursery. So we're getting loaded up for the upcoming month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was just checking the calendar. Of course, we had the full moon yesterday. It was known as the flower moon. The next one, May 31st.
May 31st.
So all the way at the end of May.
Could be late this year then.
Yeah.
So
possibility that we could see some cold weather returning for the end of this month.
We want to plan on having protection available for those plants just in case we get some cold weather in May. It would not surprise me.
No.
after the way the season has gone, that we have a late frost this year. So
all right. Well, a lot of questions that we can get into this morning. I know a lot of people still surveying, the cold weather and the damage that it's done to our plants, frost damage. We'll get into that. But first, we've got a special guest who's joining us.
We do. We've got Rick Elliot with Royal Gold Soils. Rick, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
Did we lose him? Are you there, Rick?
No, I'm here.
Rick, can you hear us?
There we go.
Absolutely, I can hear you.
There we go.
are.
There we go.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good morning to you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. It's a nice, quiet morning here, even though I have a house full of teenage girls. We had a big sleepover last night. But, they're all still going to sleep in for quite some time. I got a nice morning to myself, nice and quiet.
That sounds great. At my house, we have sleepovers, but it's with the deer in my yard eating all my stuff.
And they're nocturnal, too.
Yeah, these teenagers eat all my stuff, too.
That's what I was thinking, and they're also nocturnal. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Rick, this is the first year we've brought in a lot of product from Royal Gold, and we've tried for years, but we finally pulled the trigger this year, and we're super excited about having your product. Can you tell us a little bit about Royal Gold and how it kind of got started and kind of what your specialties are?
Sure. Yeah, we really appreciate you bringing it in, and I remember meeting you last year and having the conversation, and just the feedback we've been getting so far from how everything has gone at the shop has been wonderful. We love that kind of feedback. So Royal Gold, I've been there about 13 or 14 years now, been using it for almost the entire 20 years that they've been around. Yeah. We started up in 2006 in Northern California. This area is pretty big on gardening and farms. One of the mainstays of the Back to Nature movement, where, people really got into homesteading back in the late 60s, early 70s. Our farmers market is really kind of the glue to the community. They've kind of popped up over many of the surrounding towns, but the city of Arcata, where Humboldt State University lived for many decades, it is now considered Cal Poly. That's a polytechnic university.
There you go.
There's a lot of earth sciences. That's kind of what they're majoring in. Plant production, plant science. They have a wonderful soil science department, one of which we actually work with the soil science lecturer up there, Nate Swenson, who's been wonderful to work with. So, years ago, when we're trying to, garden in specific soils, native soils, it's not always easy. When you're in mountainous areas, sometimes even in the valley where agriculture has maybe depleted topsoil, the use of pesticides sometimes will create some issues as well. Potting soil, bagged soil, kind of gives you that ability to grow in containers or in garden beds, start fresh, clean slate that's not contaminated, and also formulated for success. Sometime I think around the 90s, cocoa fiber really started to emerge, coming mostly out of like Holland. Holland, I think, was pretty much the forefront of the cocoa fiber explosion. But it's moved its way over, and it kind of made its way over here where the co-founder of Royal Gold, Chad Waters, started to experiment with it, and it started to kind of grow. He started to make a few different mixes, pretty much just here locally. Really didn't have much for distribution and stuff.
Right.
I happen to be a longtime friend of Chad Waters and his wife, Tracy Waters, and one of the first people to experiment with it, and it was just a night and day difference. I mean, I was mixing my own soils using, bagged product from the local garden centers, from the hardware stores, and, you really got to dive in and learn how to make those products work, where, it really doesn't set up an easy path for that green garden experience that you hope to have. A lot of times those first few years, you can almost waste more money trying to grow food cheap.
Right.
Just by using,
I had a young couple in the store yesterday, and they're kind of in that same situation where the first couple of years they were gardening and they just didn't have a lot of success. They were starting to get discouraged, and then all of a sudden last year everything kind of started to click for them, and they did. They improved their soil, and they were super excited yesterday. They were just like, oh my gosh, this my berries are doing amazing, and we've actually got blueberries that are starting to grow, and they were getting excited about their garden. And you're right on. It's like you get discouraged if things don't work the way you think they ought to.
Sure. That's something that I say when I'm going into garden centers all over is, how often do you hear somebody say that, oh, I can't keep a plant alive to save my life. I've tried my hand in gardening, and I just don't have that green thumb. And so many times it's really the products that you're starting off with. If you walk into a big box store, and, you're buying something for just a couple dollars, and it's just not formulated with craft in mind, and the ingredients themselves are just poor quality, you're most likely, just going to walk away with a little sour taste and just think that this is maybe just not for you. Wow, gardening is harder than I thought. And it really can be easier if you're starting off with a good foundation, right? And that's where the soil comes in. Cocoa fiber, we found, to just, other than it being more sustainable, a little more environmentally friendly, it just holds up a little bit longer. It holds its function. It's the way that it's holding moisture, but still allowing the oxygen to get into your root zone because of the fiber size. Yeah. And that being said, cocoa fiber, there's lots of coconut plants all over the globe. There are regions, there are different practices for, getting that cocoa fiber together for this industry that really dictates kind of how well it's going to work.
Yeah.
So, that's been the bread and butter of our our whole story of success is the cocoa fiber, and then a product that we kind of call it Cali peat for a long time, because what we're doing is we're using locally sourced wood material and breaking that down and kind of mimicking what happens in a peat bog, except over 1,000 years, we're doing it in probably 3 to 4 months.
Right.
And then when you combine that with the cocoa fiber, that's the base of Royal Gold. You're going to find that combination in all of our mixes. Sometimes with a couple of mixes, we'll even blend a little peat moss into it. Yeah. Because, as you know, the three of them really start to complement each other very, very well.
Right. When I do a class in the wintertime, we start with just a compressed, dehydrated block of coconut core, and because we talk about soils in the first class, and I hydrate it right there while the class is we're doing the class. And when it's all hydrated up, I pass it around, let everybody touch it and feel it, and it just feels so nice. And you're right, it's more fibrous, and it's got more density to it than say peat moss. And sometimes the peat moss, like within a month, it seems like, where did it go? It's like it's gone.
It just becomes hydrophobic. It compacts.
Yeah. But the coconut core, having that more fibrous texture to it, it just seems like it sticks around a lot longer. But what's really cool about this class is it's an 8-week class, and I don't do anything with it for the 8 weeks. It just sits there in the classroom, and by the end of the 8 weeks, it's still about 60% hydrated. Like, it's dry on the surface, but down below, it's like still there. And I mean, it's a gallon of water that it absorbs, and it holds it for 2 months. It holds that same moisture for 2 months. So,
we learned that in the early days of Royal Gold, we had a big pile of it out there, and I'm not sure why it wasn't being used. Maybe it was just from a different source that we were just doing a little, R&D on. But there was a wildfire somewhere east of us, on the east side of California. There was a wildfire that started at a lumber plant, and it was a pile of some sort of material that had combusted in the heat of the summer and everything else. And it made us look at our pile. We walked over to it, and it looked dry from the outside because it had been sitting in the sun all summer long. And we were amazed when we scratched the surface of this pile. I mean, just 2 inches under, it still is completely.
It was still moist. Yeah.
It's incredible.
It blows my class away every year, because like at the end of the class, I'll say, okay, how long have we been doing this? And they're like, we've been here for like 8 classes. And I was like, yeah, check out the coconut core. And I pass it around again, and they scratch the top inch or so off, and it's like it's moist underneath still. And so
it really is amazing, and it's one of the main factors for really giving a gardener a fair chance at having a successful garden, right? If you can eliminate those factors, the medium becoming hydrophobic and breaking down and really kind of starting to trap those airways, because your roots need that oxygen. They need the oxygen for the biology and to take up nutrients. So when you start to compact your soil and break that down, I mean, you're no longer in control. You can feed all you want. It's just not really going to have the effect that you're hoping for.
So one of the products we brought in of yours is the planting mix. And, we've been doing bare root plants for decades, and we thought we were good at it. I'll put it that way. We thought we were good at it, but even at Anderson's, we're learning new stuff all the time as some of these new technologies come out, and we're not afraid to dig our fingers into it and like find out and see how it works. I mean, that's why we do so much compost tea. Yeah. It was like we love to experiment, and so we brought in your planting mix, and we're like, hey, this should be really good for hilling in our bare root trees and our bare root berries and our bare root strawberries and everything, all those plants that we bring in really early, and we try and sell bare root for our customers. And this year we have seen those plants just absolutely go crazy in your planting mix. And the planting mix is like, it's probably your Cali peat and coconut core. And
it is, and the combination of worm castings. I'm really glad that you're having that kind of success. We've definitely been hearing it since we launched it a few years ago. And it is, like you nailed it on the head. It's the magic between that cocoa fiber and that aged forest material. You don't even need perlite. It's a perlite-free mix, and it's amazing how well that mix still drains in the absence of perlite.
Yeah. Well, it seems like when the coconut core absorbs up the moisture it's going to hold, it just allows the rest to run through, and you get that great drainage out of it.
Yeah, that's the fantastic thing about the cocoa fiber. It even seems like with the food that you're adding to it, the fibers actually tend to kind of hold on to some of that food so that the plants can actually uptake some of that stuff as it wants.
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea is obviously to feed the soil, and the plants will feed off of the soil. You're not really feeding your plants per se, but you're feeding your soil.
Right.
Well, that cocoa fiber allows you to really kind of make that happen.
In just a couple weeks of some of our berries sitting in the planting mix as we're waiting for someone to come purchase them, like they sent out runners and we're sending up shoots, and like the root systems had doubled and tripled just in a few short weeks. And I'm absolutely convinced it's because of the planting mix. Like we've never had bare root trees like put on this much, really brand new, white, beautiful, tender roots.
Growth.
Yeah, the root growth was just unbelievable. And so we were super, super happy. We brought it in bags as well, too. So we brought in some totes to use for our own use. We brought in bags, and we've really been encouraging all of our customers to use it when they're transplanting. And we're getting just really rave reviews back on how well their plants have taken this spring that they planted in March, and they're just taking off. So I love hearing that. There's we love those stories of nurseries bringing it in for their own propagation in their greenhouses for the plants that they're selling in retail. But they a lot of times don't bring it in the bag form for sale in that form, and it usually takes that that first eye-opening moment of, wow, this stuff is fantastic. I think our retail customers will really appreciate it. We brought what we thought was a lot in, and I just brought in 2 more pallets this week because we've burned through we've burned through all of our planting mix, because everybody that's using it, they're coming back and they're like, what is this stuff? This is like amazing. It's like, have you got some more?
Great to hear.
I don't know what your situation is there for room, Mark, but I'm really excited to get you to try some of these other products that we make. Everything that we do has a purpose, and it fits into a nice little part of somebody's garden world. Right. And we take a lot of pride in formulating every one of these mixes to really function and at a high level.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the future.
Yep. We did bring the twoper in. So
great.
I'd say
the twoper is really interesting. It's a very versatile mix, considering what it is. Right. There's no plant food in it. It's literally just the cocoa fiber, that age forest material, and perlite. Right. So, you'd think it had very minimal uses, but it really, for anything from seed starting to microgreens, it's great for any kind of large-scale automated agriculture. We see it being used in indoor cultivation and greenhouse cultivation. If these large mega greenhouses that are set up on automation and fertigation, it's one of the easiest mixes to dial in that form and just kind of have your nutrient program taking care of everything, and it's going to be really, really consistent. You're not going to have plants throughout your commercial space growing at different sizes and flowering in different ways.
Yeah.
It's just a really, really consistent medium across the board, and it's one of our top mixes for that reason.
Yeah, and I've been using it with some of my starts because I grow giant pumpkins, and so I've got a couple giant pumpkins coming, and then I do tomatoes with my class throughout the winter time. So we start some seedlings and kind of work through that process. So I transplanted them into the twoper so I could control the fertilizer environment. And it's been sensational. Yeah. My pumpkins, I haven't got them transplanted out yet because I just barely got my garden tilled, but they're blooming already inside, and they're not even a month old, and they're starting to bloom. So
we work with a giant pumpkin farmer out here just outside of the Sacramento area. Nick Kennedy is his name. And I know he's kind of, gotten some accolades there for his giant pumpkin. I don't know. I can't remember if he got the big award for the largest pumpkin, but maybe placed something in the California.
Right. I think I actually met Nick at the Giant Pumpkin Commonwealth conference in Salt Lake. This I think it was like early March.
A couple months ago.
Yeah, it was early March, and I'm pretty sure I met Nick there. So, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, cool. A friend of mine, Chris Houseworth with Extreme Gardening, told me he met you over there. He was like, do you know this guy? He's got some of your stuff out there for display.
you never know what you're going to find at some of those conferences. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Nick Kennedy's great. He's got a really good family affair kind of garden happening. He's got his kids involved. They named their pumpkins. They're using a product of ours, just the Royal Gold potting mix, which is another great one. It's got a mild amendment charge to it, but also good drainage and stuff. And, yeah, he's been on that stuff for the last couple of years and finding good success.
Very cool. Very cool. So we brought in the planting mix. We brought in the tuber. We brought in your bagged coconut core, and that is like sensational. It's like so nice. I actually use it in my garden to cover up some of my difficult to germinate seeds. It works like amazing on my carrots. So like I'm planting carrots this weekend, and I will cover it with the coconut core. Coconut core acts like kind of a filter, and so it keeps the seeds in place when I water it, and so the seeds don't like float away because they're so light and small. But if I were to use like peat moss or a potting mix, it would float away also. Yeah. But the coconut core stays there, so it's like this mat of coconut core that I can basically put right over the top of the carrots. It allows the moisture to go through, and then it holds that moisture underneath. The top dries out, but it's like holding that moisture underneath. I get my carrots to germinate in half the time that it normally takes with the coconut core over the top of them. Yeah. And it works the same for beets and, any small seeds you're trying to germinate. But I mean, it used to take 21, 24 days to get the carrots to germinate. I've got them coming up in 12 days. Just like fantastic. 12 days. And it's just that little quarter-inch layer of coconut core over the top of it. And it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful seed starter. It's a wonderful addition. You can just use soil condition and adding some organic material to an old garden bed. Yeah. It's a fantastic product. I'm glad that you're digging that one too.
And we brought in your worm castings too. So we've got bags of the worm castings. What other?
Yeah, I actually have some good news. In a few weeks, they're actually going to be available for retail in an 8-quart bag. We're really close. There's a ton of people that say that big bag of castings for a little home gardener or somebody, college kid in a dorm room that wants to use a little bit.
Too much.
This is a lifetime supply of casting. What am I going to do with this? So to answer that call, 8-quart coming down the pipeline.
Very cool. Very cool. So, Will, how much time we got?
Let's take a break here real quick, and then we can come back and we can talk more. We've got Rick Elliot joining us on the line from Royal Gold Soil, and we'll take more of your garden questions coming up here after the bottom of the hour break, as it's now 8:32 here on KVNU. I'm Will Theelwright with your KVNU local sports and weather here at the bottom of the hour. Well, beginning in hockey, the Vegas Golden Knights eliminated the Utah Mammoth Friday night from the Stanley Cup playoffs in a decisive 5-1 victory in Game 6 at the Delta Center. Now, trailing 3-2 in the series, Utah had faced the must-win scenario to keep the season alive. Head coach Andre Tourné after the game said this one really hurts.
I don't even want to feel good about it. I want that to hurt, and I want to learn from it. And there will be a ton of things we will unpack and learn and grow as a coach, as a player, as an organization. Our crowd was unbelievable for us all season long. In the playoff, there was another level. Well, I really love to win it for them.
Now, Vegas controlled the pace early in the matchup, building a 2-0 lead before the Mammoth scored in the third period to cut the deficit to 2-1. The momentum shift was brief, though, as the Golden Knights quickly answered with 3 consecutive goals to seal the win and put the game out of reach. With the win now, Vegas advances to the second round to face Anaheim. And a 20-year-old Brigham City man is being held without bail after being charged with 10 counts of second-degree felony sexual exploitation of a minor. Kyler Glover was arrested last week after an FBI child exploitation task force investigation had revealed that he was allegedly using a peer-to-peer network to share and obtain child sexual abuse material. Now, according to charging documents, an undercover agent connected to a device on the network sharing where there were over 500 files depicting the sexual abuse of children. Well, weather-wise, going to see mostly clear skies with a few clouds here and there, but a chance of some rain coming this next week. I'm Will Theelwright for KVNU News.
Good morning, this is Judson Richards, NBA playoffs. Let's begin in Houston. Lakers, Rockets. Houston trying to force a Game 7, but the Lakers were in control early and often.
Reeves moving right to LeBron, back to Reeves, cross court to Kennard, now to LeBron. LeBron flying down the middle, laying up and in. LeBron's been brilliant. 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists.
The call on 710 ESPN LA. Lakers win 98-78, and they've earned a trip to the next round. The Lakers meet up with the Thunder on Tuesday in round 2. Drama in Toronto. Raptors and the Cavs in overtime. Raptors down a point with less than 10 seconds to play.
Scotty on the drive into the lane. Kick to Barrett. Deep three. No good. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. With 1.2 to go. Barrett's shot hit. It went straight up in the air. The ghost of Kawhi Leonard. And it came down through the 10. It looked like it was off. And it went straight up and came straight down.
What a shot by the hometown kid. The call on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Raptors force a Game 7 in Cleveland on Sunday. In Orlando now, Game 6. Magic hosting the Pistons. Magic leading the series 3-2. Orlando had a 60-38 lead into halftime, but by the fourth, that lead was gone.
Detroit continues to inch back into this one. Tremendous second half from them on both ends of the floor.
21 now for Cunningham. He deflects a pass up top to the other end. 1-on-2. Cunningham waits at the rim, then goes up to score after watching Suggs leave the paint. 72-72, all the way back from down 24.
The game heard on ESPN Radio. Pistons beat the Magic 93-79. Game 7 is back in Detroit on Sunday.
It's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And we welcome you back to the show on this beautiful Saturday morning as we've got sunny skies, just a gorgeous weekend ahead of us. A few clouds, temperatures, like I said, we're going to be in the low 70s, but more rain coming next week.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it.
We got Rick Elliot joining us on the line from Royal Gold Soil. We'll get more to Rick coming up here in just a minute. But, Mark, you were mentioning that one of the main questions that you've had this week is about all the frost damage that we've had to our trees.
Yeah. Yesterday, within a 1 hour period, I think I had 10 people come in and ask me the same thing. Hey, my locust tree, all the leaves got frozen on it. And one gentleman showed me pictures, and like all the leaves on his trees had been frozen on his locust and on his Japanese maple, but a couple branches stuck underneath his carport, and they had leaves.
And they were fine.
And they were perfect. It was a really funny picture because just where those branches had stuck under the carport, they were just absolutely
like
fine.
A Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde tree.
Yeah, it really was. So we've got a lot of people in the valley very concerned that the leaves froze on their trees last week when we had the below 20 temperatures.
Really hard.
Throughout the valley, we had multiple locations that had below 20s after all these trees had started to leaf out. So I've noticed locusts have been hit pretty hard, sycamores, Japanese maples, walnuts, and believe it or not, ginkgo. Like my ginkgo in front of my house and behind my house, it got hammered, and it just had brand new little baby leaves that had come out. So what's really great is that Mother Nature has a lot of built-in backup systems, and so when stuff like this happens, and it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen from time to time, they will kick out all new leaves. So all those trees, the leaves that came out, they're gone. They're not going to come back. But there are new buds that are there. They're going to come out, and the trees will actually have leaves on them this year. So don't. Take a deep breath. Yeah. Take a breath, a cleansing breath, and they'll be fine. But there are some things that we can do. And so one of the products that we highly recommend that people use on their trees that have been damaged is called Boomerang. And Boomerang is a product that is made to help plants come back. So it's a comeback formula, and it's full of beneficial microbes and microorganisms and mycorrhiza, and it's a liquid, so you just mix it up in water, and you water your trees or shrubs that have been damaged with it, and it will really boost their root system, help the plants pick up the nutrient that they need, help them pick up the water that they need, and it's gonna help them recover a lot faster from the frost damage. And so the concentrate, I think a pint bottle will make about 50 gallons. It's just a hair less than 50 gallons. And you can mix that up in a 5-gallon bucket and then just, drench your trees with it, get into the root system, and it's going to help those plants recover from the damage that we've had. So Boomerang is great for bringing plants back from damage or stress. And we've used it on trees. We use it on shrubs. We use it on tomato plants, flowers, anything that's really struggling and you're trying to get it to recover from that damage. The Boomerang would be amazing for that, and it'll be great for the trees that have lost leaves, like my ginkgo, my walnut, my locust, and absolutely my Japanese maple. All got hit pretty hard. But I'm seeing sycamores as well too.
But when it comes to fruit trees, okay, you will get your leaves back. But as far as your fruit production this year, some of that's going to be gone.
It depends, because it's like I went out and checked some of my apples, and the fruit looks fine. Yeah, like they had set fruit already, and they looked fine. And we had some blossoms on some trees, and some peaches and nectarines and apricots. I think my apricots are gone, but I think there's some peaches and nectarines that survived okay. And I was surprised on the apples and the pears. It looked like a lot of the fruit was okay.
Depending upon when they started to blossom out.
Yeah.
It's kind of depending upon when they got hit with that frost.
Yeah. So if they'd set fruit already, a lot of that fruit was in pretty good shape. But if they were in full bloom, you lost 70% of your flowers with that frost. And we did have some trees in bloom. And so there's going to be a dramatic decrease in fruit production this year just from that really hard frost while a lot of these plants were in bloom or after they'd set fruit. So just kind of plan ahead for that. But if your leaves did get damaged on some of these trees and they're all black and crispy, Boomerang's going to help bring those plants back out of that damage, get them to recover a lot faster.
Yeah.
So
we noticed our peach tree and apricot tree both lost their fruit because of just the timing.
Yeah.
But pear and apples actually survived.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And you're a little bit colder than where I'm at too.
Yeah.
Since I'm at the mouth of the canyon. I mean, it was cold.
Yeah.
It was really cold, but it didn't get all of our trees.
And interestingly, we were talking about bleeding hearts last week because they just got annihilated.
Yeah.
But I've noticed they've started to come back a little bit.
Yep. They might bloom again too.
Yeah,
they just might bloom again.
So speaking of trees, we have Vicki joining us on the line from Smithfield. Vicki, welcome to the show. You had a question about your peach tree.
Yes, my peach tree, when it froze, it's oozing out a black sap, and I don't know if I'm supposed to do something with it or just leave it.
I would just leave it for now. Just kind of keep an eye on it. A lot of those stone fruits, when there's a little bit of damage, you get like a crack, especially right now while the sap is really flowing through the trees. You'll just get a little bit of oozing of sap. It's kind of like the tree's blood. So when there's a crack, it'll just kind of ooze out, just like if you cut your finger.
Like a scab.
Yeah, just like if you cut your finger, you're going to bleed a little bit. It cleans the wound and then helps the tree start to heal a little bit. If you're seeing like sawdust or frass inside the sap, then that's a little bit more of an indicator we've got an insect that's in there doing some damage. And so at this point, I don't think it's insect damage. It's like too early for borer damage to be showing up, but it's probably just a wound that happened, and then the sap's just kind of come out. It'll probably dry and protect that wound as well too. So at this point, don't worry about it too much, but just kind of check it every now and then. Make sure it's not like getting larger or starting to cause other problems.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for calling this morning, Vicki.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, have a good weekend.
And phone lines are open at 753-KVNU. That's 753-5868 if you have a question or comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we have Rick Elliot from Royal Gold Soil joining us on the line from California. And Rick, a lot of times, we've been talking about Boomerang really being helpful for your plants because it can really help them kind of recover. But a lot of it has to do with soil. And if you've got your flower beds and you're using Royal Gold soil, you add some mycorrhiza into that, you add some boomerang, it can just accelerate that recovery process, can it?
Oh, absolutely. There's lots of things that are happening with a good, healthy soil. Anything from, recovery and shock and pest resistance and all that. Powdery mildew is always a big one.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a good functioning, healthy soil, your plants just have that much greater chance of making it through the season and giving you a bounty of harvest.
And it's probably something you hear a lot from time to time, because I know I've been guilty of this. I think, well, dirt is dirt. You don't need to do anything to it, right? It's dirt. But there actually is so much we can do to improve our soil. And when it comes to Royal Gold soil, what do you recommend as far as maintaining that richness in your soil? What can people do to be able to keep that fertile mix of nutrients that will help plants thrive?
So, you mentioned compost teas earlier. I'm a huge fan of compost teas. If you're using those through the gardening cycle, that's always just going to help, keep everything healthy and in balance. It's going to help break down some of that material, that organic material, somewhat of which is the base of your soil. So after, some time, you're going to want to revitalize that. And, I've always done it either by adding organic material, whether it's just kitchen compost that's broken down and stuff like that, or you can obviously purchase that at the store. But even revitalizing it with another fresh bag of soil, especially in the beginning of the year when your beds have been kind of sitting dormant for the winter. You can go in there with just a fresh, heavily amended bag of soil, because then you're really getting out all the benefits, right? You're getting some fresh cocoa fiber, you're getting some fresh forest material, plus all the added ingredients. The planting mix that you're using, that's got about 3 to 4 weeks of a good, healthy food supply to it as it is. So even just tilling a little bit more of that, or you can even top dress with it if you want to do it that way, and you just kind of revitalize your soil that way. It's pretty easy for most gardeners that don't want to get too scientific about it or don't really understand how that works. That's a really, really easy way to do it. And worm castings is another one. Obviously, worm castings just bring so much benefit to soil.
Yeah. And the worm casting bags that you've got, they're 1 cubic foot, aren't they?
They are, correct.
How much area can you cover with 1 cubic foot?
Oh, boy. You could probably, 50 square feet or something like that. I mean, you can go up to adding about a third to a garden bed if you're going to till it in or something like that. If you're going to just apply it into a compost tea, really just a couple of cups into a tea bag, along with some stuff like molasses. And, I've always been a big fan of using different ingredients in my teas. Instead of, getting caught into a cycle of using the same exact ingredients in your tea bag and brewing it for the exact amount of time every time, trying to switch that up. And sometimes, by adding molasses, you're going to encourage the population of certain species, where if you just hold back the molasses on another tea, you'll have an entirely different population of things happening in your soil and in your tea. And the same thing goes for the ingredients, and there are different ingredients that you could add if you're just vegetating your plants, if you're going into a transition period into flower, and then again, you can actually perfect more of a flowering tea.
Interesting. We've never experimented with different combinations. We do use the molasses and a soy protein to feed our microbes and our microorganisms in there. So that works great. And we do have a mycorrhiza package in ours as well too. And
the brew time is something that I think that they say somewhere around the 48-hour mark. Well, is like the kind of optimum brew time.
Right.
But if you were to brew just slightly less, 36 hours, if you do 24 hours. There's something that'll happen every time. If you use the same ingredients and you use the same exact brew time, you're basically adding the same exact population of biology. But if you're alternating that even just slightly, you're going to be entering into your soil some different stuff, and they'll colonize a little bit differently. So I've always just found that just by messing around and alternating a little bit, you'll just kind of have more of a wide spectrum of loving beneficials in your soil and in your tea.
So interesting. And it really does. It brings your soil alive, and it makes your soil work the way it's supposed to. And then all of a sudden it's freeing all that nutrient up, and it's helping your soil be more absorbent and hold the moisture longer. And of course here we're really low on water, and so we're trying to find a lot of different ways to help our gardeners, conserve on water, but still be effective and grow their plants and just not have to use as much water to keep them looking good.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes down to irrigation. If soils are formulated and built properly, that you can actually, set it up on automation onto a drip. These soils, the benefit of the cocoa fiber and that age forest material, those fiber sizes are a little bit different. So they really kind of just get stuck on each other. They leave a lot of space for oxygen, right? So you can actually set your plants up, your garden beds up on a drip system and keep them somewhat moist. And the benefits of having cocoa fiber is that it won't compact. If you were to do that with a heavily based peat mix, you will get that compaction, and it's really hard to just kind of keep it moist. The oxygen will tend to not get into the root zone. But with these soils, especially the Tupper is the product you had mentioned earlier that you brought in, that is the one of the main strengths of why people use that product in commercial agricultural settings, is that they can keep it just on a steady drip, and you'll actually conserve about 30 to 40% of your water than just doing a full, flood to drain kind of a system.
Irrigation, yeah. So we've just found with the coconut coir, once we mix it in with some of our planting mixes, so for either raised beds or, planters that you're putting on your patio, it lasts longer throughout the day, and it retains that extra moisture. So you're not having to just water even twice a day. Sometimes when it's 100 degrees outside, it just holds the right amount of moisture with just the one watering. And sometimes you can get 2 days out of it even.
Oh, absolutely. We have a couple of mixes that we actually use what's called cocoa chips. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Mark. Yeah. Cocoa chips are just like these tiny little crouton-sized chunks of the coconut husk. And these things are like little moisture capsules, and it's absolutely incredible to see how they function in a dry pot of soil. On a hot summer day, you could literally pull one of these things out of a completely dry chunk of soil and squeeze it with your fingers, and you'll watch water pour out of this. It is absolutely fantastic, and what it does is it actually will keep some kind of, some sort of moisture in the pot of soil, giving you a little bit of time to get back to it to make sure that it's watered before it starts to kind of shock and wilt and stuff. But it also, I feel like the plant really just kind of senses that there is water nearby, right? Like they know it's there. They just have to kind of seek it out. And I feel like the plant doesn't stress as much, knowing that it's not sitting in a desert. There is water nearby. They just have to kind of tap into it. And yeah, they're like these little morsels of wonder. We use it in our potting mix, and we just launched a new one last year called the Special Reserve, which is probably as close to what we have to a super soil. It's really just a labor of love. We've been trying to figure out how to get enough food into a ag potting soil where it'll really keep your plants alive and healthy for a long time without any kind of shock and burn. And that's always that balance. How do you get enough in there to not hurt them, but really keep them alive and healthy for a long time?
How long do the cocoa chips stick around for? I mean, more than
they stick around for quite some time. Yeah, they last. I mean, I've definitely had multiple seasons, and they're still in there. They're pretty hardy.
That's great, because a lot of our customers have used some of the polymer to get the soil to retain moisture because it holds 100 times its weight in water. But one season and it's gone. It's like completely.
Yeah, cocoa fiber is. Two of the organic materials on Earth. It's like you see either cellulose base or lignin. And that's the beauty of cocoa fiber, is that it's a lignin-based organic material. So it's really going to hold up a lot longer. Up here in Northern California, one of the materials that we use in our age forest material is actually redwood. And it's not the bark. It's actually part of the actual redwood, the sawdust. It's actually a byproduct of our local logging industry. And that is also a lignin material. So the combination of the cocoa fiber and the redwood, I mean, it really just has your soil sticking around and functioning and doing what you paid it for a lot longer than any kind of peat product.
That's interesting. That's
Very
like
cool.
super interesting. Yeah. So with the products that we brought in, maybe for next year, what would you suggest we might want to try that our customers would be super interested in giving a shot?
I think that the Special Reserve is definitely our new favorite. It is. I tried it last year on just about every vegetable I have in my greenhouse, and I did it in side-by-side, kind of my own personal trials. Even though we have tons of greenhouses on our facility property, we have our soil scientist, like I mentioned earlier. He's out there playing around in the garden, and he's testing our soils to other soils of ours as well as our competitors.
I was going to say, what a horrible job to have to go out there and play in the dirt every day.
Yeah.
That just sounds terrible. I can't believe somebody would do that.
Yeah, he is fantastic. We opened up a facility in Anderson, funny enough, South Carolina. And, we brought him on years ago because we had to find a different aged forest material, to work with out there. We had to come up with some different stuff. We try to, do the locally sourced thing as much as possible. So we needed to bring him on and do that kind of R&D and collect all that data and stuff. And he has just been a wonderful addition, just a wealth of knowledge. When I can understand him, obviously talking science with the scientists. When it comes to soils, obviously, he notices now sometimes that, we're all looking at him with, deer in the headlights.
Yes,
Bring it back down to our level. But
and he's a dirt scientist.
He's a dirt scientist. Yeah,
dirt scientist, 100%. He's been a big factor in the dry amendment line that we launched several years ago too, called the Crown Jewels, and that's an OMRI-listed, CDFA certified organic line.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We have an all-purpose that's great for re-amending, great for strawberries and things that aren't too NPK specific.
Yeah.
And then we have a grow and a bloom, and we have this wonderful product that if you haven't tried yet, Mark, I would love to send you some, or maybe perhaps I'll bring it when I come out in a few weeks. And that's called the Imperial Boost, and it is a 0-15-11. It's got 17% calcium, so anything flowering, this product is just an absolute beast. I know you're big on tomatoes, and something with 17% calcium is just absolutely fantastic. It'll thicken up that skin on those heirlooms.
Right.
It obviously, it helps with the blossom
and rot. Yep.
Yeah, it's a fantastic product, and it'll literally work on anything flowering, from roses to dahlias to cucumbers and melons.
That actually should be great for our pumpkin growers, because a couple of years ago, people were we had a lot of growers that split their pumpkins late in the growing season because they just didn't have enough calcium. And I think that would really toughen up their skins. They'd have a lot less problem with the late split right before they're going to harvest them and bring them for weigh, to weigh them off. So.
If you're interested, I will make sure you get a bunch into your hands, and you can give it a try for yourself.
I think that would be sensational. So, Rick, I think we're about to the end of the show. So thank you so much for spending the time and sharing information about your product and about how Coconut Core works. And it's been wonderful having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to get into your listeners' ears as well as your retail customers. And thank you. So let us know if we can ever do anything.
Oh, absolutely. Great partnership has started, and thank you for what you do for us.
Excellent. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Now, for people who want to check out Royal Gold Soil. You have some products there at Anderson Seed and Garden.
So we've got the Tupper, which we talked about, which is a great planting mix, and we also have their planting mix, which we have absolutely fallen in love with our own plants, amazing. And we've got their Coconut Core in bags, so it's already expanded, so you don't have to worry about trying to hydrate it up. And we have their worm casting combination, which is amazing to get your garden recharged and ready to go. And you don't need very much. You're only putting a half inch of worm castings out there over your garden, and just puts all this good beneficial biology and microbes and microorganisms right back into the soil. So great stuff. Stuff's coming in already for Mother's Day. So we got hanging baskets, and we've got our Mother's Day hanging baskets, and new trees, new shrubs, new perennials, and the roses look absolutely spectacular. They look really, really great right now. And then for those of you that have had some damage on your trees, we talked about it earlier, the boomerang would be amazing to help get your trees coming back. They are going to put out new leaves, but let's give them a little help.
Yeah.
And watering
Accelerate
them,
that
watering them with the boomerang, not just once, but once a week for a couple of weeks. It will help build your root system back up, which will in turn help push new leaves out, and your trees will fill out with leaves. It might take a few weeks for that to happen, but let's try and help them out with a little bit of boomerang and get those plants back in shape.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, we'll be back on the show next week, as it'll be Mother's Day weekend, so we'll have a lot to talk about then. And don't forget, Compost Tea is brewing at Anderson Seed and Garden, so you can stop by this week and join us again next week on the Garden Guide here on KVNU.
Breaking news and stimulating talk.
America is ours.